Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic Orthodoxy. My name's David, and this is a magic review. Hey, today we're gonna look at Perplex from Criss, Magic on Demand, and Flat Cap Production. All right, so what is Perplex? Perplex is an adaptation on a very familiar sleight that we all do. And if you don't know who Criss is, his ad copy says that he is an underground magician who regularly performs at the Bristol Illusions Bar in the UK. And this is where he developed his craft, created real world effects, new moves, new controls, new switches, new forces, and a whole lot more. This DVD contains his proven time-tested effects that always kill where he works. And basically, if you watch the commercial, you can see that this is a control move, okay? It's kind of, it's a production on one hand, and it's also a vanish on the other. So I would say it's a color change, okay? It's a color change. It's just a very creative way to do this color change. Let's get into this review. All right, so a couple questions we always ask about all of our magic reviews, and the first of which is, what's in the box? What's in the box? It's a DVD. It's a DVD only. That means everything you see is sleight of hand, okay? There's nothing magical, nothing gimmicked. There's a couple of times where Criss introduces a duplicate card into his effects, so some of his tricks require a duplicate. However, I would say that it's probably not always necessary. There are other ways to get into that if you are a more skilled magician. But the entire DVD is about 51 minutes long, almost an hour. And let me just throw this out there. This is probably in the intermediate skill level. You should know your way around a deck of cards. Is it what I thought? I knew it was a sleight. I knew that. And there's a tiny tell, a tiny tell get ready that you can see that he does, and you're assuming it's one thing, but then you can't tell how the color change is done because it's all done under the cover of his hand. So I have to say I didn't know how it was done, and I did enjoy his presentation. How are the angles on this? The angles are pretty much what you see in the video. So the camera angle that you're watching the trick from, that is the angle that you want. So this is probably not going to work surrounded, probably not going to work in an environment where you have a lot of people burning you on different angles. You kind of want, I'm going to say the Luber lens view, where the spectator is actually kind of looking down, or where you're holding the deck down and their eyesight is similar to what the camera was. I wouldn't say that's totally necessary, but that's probably the best. That's probably the best environment until you get to be really good. So I would say there are some angles with this. Can it be inspected? Of course, there's nothing to inspect. You're using a regular deck of cards. What's the overall quality and production value of this video? It's shot really well. I think Criss is against a green screen. They've got like a Perplex logo behind him. He's seated at a table, so you're getting waist-high shots of him at the table on a mat, and then you're getting close-up shots of his hands when you need it. There's really light background music, and he is well mic'd. All right, so what's taught on the DVD? What are you gonna learn? Of course, you're gonna learn the basic Perplex effect. You're gonna learn it two different ways. You're gonna learn it kind of like in a face-up version where you see the transposition take place, okay? Under the cover of your hand flashing over the deck, the color change takes place. The second version you'll learn is the one where he brings the deck up to his view, and in that one you have a lot more cover. So I would argue that the second version doesn't need the cover, doesn't need the angle that I talked about earlier. The first one, yes, is angle sensitive and it needs to be timed perfectly. We'll talk about that a little later. The second one, you've got way more opportunity to do the color change. They can't see what you're doing. You're more hidden from view. And when you watch Criss perform the tricks, he actually does the second version more often. The other thing you're going to learn is the octopus force, because some of his tricks require force. So he's going to show you the octopus force, which is a force he can teach you. It's basically a fancy version of the Hindu shuffle force. Of course, you're going to learn 4 different effects, and then you're going to have a little segment at the end where he gives thank yous and inspiration. The 4 different tricks you are going to learn. The first one is called Desirous. It's an ambitious card style effect that involves a force. So a free selection isn't taking place, there's a force, and then it's the signed card lost in the deck reappears on the top. The second trick is called Chameleon. That is where a signed card is lost into the deck, and when you fan the deck across the table, the card appears face up, and the kicker is when you pull it out, it has a different colored back. I would just mention now at this point that yes, several of his tricks require a table, and I think this is because, like I said earlier, Criss works in a bar where he probably has a countertop, so a lot of the tricks you're going to learn on this require a table. Third trick is called Will to Gleason. In this trick, you have two matching cards, two jacks, two jokers, what have you. They're off to the side. You have a card selected and lost into the deck. You then take the two jokers, stick them face up into the deck, very fairly, and then when you fan the cards across the table, the selected card appears trapped between the pair. Deliverance is his fourth effect, and it is a 4-ace trick. You pull all 4 aces out of the deck, have a card selected, and then you have the selected card returned to the deck face down. When you fan the cards, they can clearly see the card there in the middle. You then show all 4 aces, you do a little bit of fanciness, and then when you spread your aces, their card is now trapped between the aces, and the face down card in the deck is the missing ace. How much practice does this require? Like I said before, timing is crucial on this. Timing is crucial. The vanish happens in the face up version as your hand is passing over the stack, and so it's a timing issue. You don't want to do it too fast, you don't want to do it too slow, so this is something you're going to practice again and again and again until you got it down in front of the mirror. The second move, of course, happens, like I said, with a lot more cover, and so you might start off with that one. You might practice that one first, get that one down before you move on to the other. It's really going to depend on your skill level. How much setup and reset is there? There's pretty much none, except for the couple of tricks where he teaches it with a duplicate card. But I would argue that there are other ways to get into those style effects if you know your way around a deck of cards. Positives. All right, so what are the positives to this DVD? Perplex takes a move that we all know and hits it with a bolt of lightning. This will kick your magic up into the rafters, and you'll do this one again and again. Negatives. All right, so what are the negatives? You know, like we say around here, there's negatives to everything. These are just the negatives that I see. They don't have to be the negatives that you see. Really, the only negative for me, and this isn't really a negative. Okay, it's not a negative. It really is in the intermediate skill level, and I really do think this will appeal more to the slight jockeys and the move monkeys. I mean, they're the ones that are gonna like this, because the rest of us that have little skill, and I'll throw myself in that arena, there's just easier ways to do this. There are easier ways to do it. Perplex is a fancy version, right? It's a fancy color change, but you probably already know a color change. Okay, so there are simpler color changes. There are other easier ways to do these effects. So I think the DVD is really only marketed at people who kind of want to up their game, and they want to take those simple color changes that everyone knows, or this simple move that we all know, and kind of give it an inject in the arm. Is it worth your money? It's 25 bucks, $25. Like I said, it's an hour long, and you get 4 tricks and 2 sleights and a cool new force. So yeah, I definitely think it's worth your money. Who would like this? Like I said before, I think this is really targeted at those guys that really love sleights, that really love learning new moves, that really love that, yeah. You know, you do a little bit of cardistry on top of your magic. You weave those two things together, because it is kind of really like a move that requires some dexterity. And so if that's you, I think you'll gravitate towards Perplex from Criss Smith. All right, so that's pretty much everything I can say about Perplex from Criss Smith, Magic on Demand, flat cap production. I want to thank Murphy's Magic Supplies for allowing me to have this so that I could do the review for you. And if you would like to purchase this for yourself, you can find it from your very favorite Murphy's Magic dealer. Thanks, bye.